Good morning, everyone. Thank you
Good
so much for
morning,
joining.
Anthony.
Good morning. Good morning.
We're so happy to have you. So my name is Anthony from Custom Collaborative, and Custom Collaborative is a New York City-based entrepreneurship and workforce development program that trains and supports women from low-income and immigrant communities to launch fashion careers and businesses. And we are so happy to have Timmy, who is representing Fashion Girls for Humanity, to do a great tutorial for our makers on how to make PPE gowns. We have a great team of makers that we brought on through Custom Collaborative's Business Incubator. And we are so happy to take on this project for Fashion Girls for Humanity and partner. And I would love to introduce Timmy to share a little bit about herself, and then we will start the tutorial.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for taking part today. A little bit about me. I've been in the fashion industry for about 10 years, working on things like cut and sew knits and designing for different companies here and there, also working on lingerie and things like that. And I've been working with Fashion Girls for Humanity for, I guess, since COVID started, just helping create instructional videos for everything that people are in need of. So gowns, scrub caps, masks, and all of that. Yeah, I'm excited to help you out, to show you some tips and pointers on creating the isolation gown.
Great. Thank you so much, Timmy. So with further ado, it would be great if we could kind of look through the materials that are in the gown kits. And just as some background, our makers, which is a group of 14 women, will be producing these gowns primarily from the Custom Collaborative Studio in Harlem, working together to make more gowns as a group. And we do have some makers that will work remotely from home as well.
Great. Okay, so I guess we can get started, right? All right, so I have included in our kit, I have it all pulled out here. I have the plain front. This is the front of the gown. And then you'll have two pieces that are a little more narrow. You have two of these, and those will be the front of the gown. And then you have two sleeve pieces as well. And you'll also have a tie, this long skinny piece. And, oh yeah, sorry. We'll have this neck pattern. So this will cut out the piece for the neck portion. And then we have pieces of Velcro as well. So those will all be included in your kit. One thing that might not be included in your kit that is still necessary is the elastic. So I think Anthony might figure out how to do that later, get the elastic to you guys. But we have elastic here that's not included in the kit, but you'll need it for the sleeve opening. So yeah, I think I can get started on showing, the process. Is that okay? Okay.
That would be great.
Okay, so first off, just so you know, the fabric that you'll have in the kit has like a fuzzy side, and then it also has a waxy side. The waxy side is the waterproof side. So make sure that that is like the correct side of your garment when you're done. So you can take a look at what you have. It's like a little bit more slick. So that's just to know, as a reminder, to make sure you're using the correct side of the fabric. So then you'll take your front piece, which is this large piece, and we'll fold it in half. And you'll take your neck pattern, and this longer part see this is a little longer than this side, will go towards the top because this will be your across neck. So just showing you there, and then you can just mark it and cut that out. So
And
then you'll end up with.
just a quick question, Timmy.
Mm-hmm.
So just to clarify, the fabric itself, the waxy side is the front of the fabric, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And it's pretty subtle. Like you can see it if you look at the fabric very closely, but if from the
Yes.
naked eye, it's a little hard to see, right?
Yeah, if you look at it closely, you'll see one side, it feels a little fuzzier, and then one side is definitely a little more slick, like matte finish. And that fuzzy side is what you'll want on your skin. The outer side, you know, if there's any water or anything like that, that'll be applied on the waxy side. So that's more beneficial for
Thank
everyone using them. Yep. Oh yes. So then you'll cut out the neck, and you'll end up with something that looks like this. So that's your front of the gown, the neck open. So then once you've cut that out, you'll take your front piece. Hold on, I'm grabbing everything. It's very large. So you'll take your front piece and your two back pieces, and you'll sew. This is the outer edge. So you can see the neck is in the center here. Hold on. The neck is in the center here. So you'll you'll place your back piece onto the back of the front piece as well, and you'll sew across the shoulder seam from the outer edge. So I don't know if you'll end up with something that looks kind of like this. Hold on, I'm putting it on. So you have the front here, and then you have the back on, and you leave the back open for now. So you'll end up with an overlap at the center back.
So you want to make sure that the shoulder seams are aligned properly front and back.
Yes, and you can use a 1/2-inch seam allowance. I know on the kit it mentions using an iron, but do not use an iron as it might melt the fabric. So for these gowns, we'll be sewing. So no ironing, and I would suggest that you don't use any pins as well, because then that'll create holes in the garment that you don't want. So then once you have those two pieces together, you'll take your sleeves, and where do I have my sleeves? Oh, here they are. So what I like to do is you'll need to find the center of the sleeve, the shoulder. So I will basically fold the sleeve in half. Fold the sleeve in half. And then I just create a little mark on the center portion. So you end up with something, you can kind of see the mark there. Just so you know where the center is, and that's where you're going to that's where that center point is going to meet up with the shoulder seam of the front and the back body that you just created.
Timmy,
That'll
I have
just
a
help.
question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Just going back to your comment about no pins. I know many of our makers, including myself, are so used to using pins when we're keeping our materials together. So do you have any advice for keeping the fabric aligned when we're sewing so that?
Yeah. Maybe you could use tape for the time, you can kind of tape the portion, if you need to, like say we're sewing this closed, the sleeve, maybe you can apply just a little bit of tape on the edge here so that it'll hold the two pattern pieces together. Also like paper clips or something, but again, be careful that you don't make any holes in the fabric. And then just, if you want to just like move a little bit slower than usual when you're starting the first stitch, that also helps too. Because once you have that first stitch in, everything else should be aligned properly.
The clip sounds like a great idea, like clean clips to replace the pins so that it's still together.
Right.
But not making
And yeah, and I guess if you do pin it, which I don't recommend, but if you're pinning it close enough to the edge of the fabric where, you know, those holes would be in the seam allowance, then that shouldn't be a problem because that's in this on the inside of the garment anyways.
And then Timmy, I have a quick question. So you use the stencil to cut the front of the gown itself. Do we need to use the neck stencil to cut on the back as well? I remember in the video there was a cutting of the back, not quite as deep as the front, but just to cut.
Let me. I have a mock-up gown here that was sent to me, and it actually doesn't have the back cut at all. So I don't even think you need to cut the back.
Okay, and we can certainly follow up with our makers just
Right,
to ensure later.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So yes, so once you have your sleeve marked, you'll just use that to meet the shoulder seam of the front and back, and you'll end up with, hold on a second. So you'll end up with this. So this is again your front, and sorry if the rustling is loud. So you'll end up with something like this, where your sleeves are still open on the underarm and on the side seam of the body.
We appreciate you being the fit model for this, Timmy.
I've always wanted to be a model, so. And just so you see here where the seams meet up. So this center part here is the shoulder, and you can see the back is uncut, no scoop, and then you have the scoop of the front, and then this is the center of the shoulder where we use that little notch that I made earlier.
For cutting the neck with the stencil, would you recommend using a pencil or something that you could cut off so that there's no visible marking on the gown itself?
Yeah, I try to use I think I used a pencil when cutting it. You can use a marker as well, and then once you trim, just trim close to the edge so you don't see any of the markings.
Thank you.
And that'll make sure that your neck width and your neck length are consistent on all of your samples as well. Okay, so then once you have those sleeves sewn on, like I mentioned before, the underarm here and then the side here are still going to be open. So you're just going to, you know, fold those over right sides to right sides as we normally sew anything. Actually, sorry, before you do that, I suggest to sew the elastic on your sleeve. I think it's a little faster construction, and it's a little easier to create the gathered sleeve opening. So basically you have your sleeve piece, and there's the smaller edge, which is the arm open. And you'll take your piece of elastic that I have here, and you'll stitch on the inside, leaving like a ½ inch. Can you see that? Like a ½ inch seam allowance. And you'll start from the very top, stitch here, and as you're sewing, make sure you're stretching the elastic only so that it'll create the gathering of the sleeve open. And then you'll end up with something that looks like this. Sorry. So then when we get ready to close the sleeve, all you have to do is sew a straight stitch to close the arm and then extend down the body. Is that clear? I'm not sure if I explained that okay.
Yes, that's
yeah, okay. Okay, great. Yeah, so then once you've sewn on the elastic on the sleeve open, then I would suggest to cut or sorry, to sew the arm closed and down to the side of the body as well, all the way down to the hem.
Do you have a good measurement for the length of the elastic, Timmy?
Oh yeah, let me measure, did I write that down? Let me measure it for you. This is 10.5 inches. And that allows for a perfect amount of gathering. And I'll show you the final garment at the end so you can see all of that.
Timmy, we also
yeah.
have a question from the group about seam finishes. We saw in the tutorial that there was a serger used. Do you recommend finishing the seams with a serger?
I spoke to Kika yesterday about that, and you don't have to finish the inside edges with the serger. And also, I noticed on the sample that I have here, it's sewn with a serger the entire way, no straight stitch. So you can straight stitch, or you can serge, or you can do both, as long as there are no holes in the garment, as long as the fabric's on the correct side, and as long as the sleeve is closed. So that elastic needs to be on there, because the sleeves are longer. They're very long, so that a doctor or nurse or whoever's using the garment, they should just be able to, like, the elastic should hold here and be the correct length for anyone who needs it. So that's the most important part of the garment.
Okay, super helpful. So we'll share with our makers our protocol and procedure for finishing seams so that all of the gowns are finished the same way for you.
Okay, that sounds good. Yes, so then once you've closed up the sleeve and the side of the body, we can place the Velcro on the back. And I'll show you. I have this here. So this is one of the finished garments. And you can see here, I think, hold on, what does it say? Yes, so the Velcro should be 2 inches from the top of the back and 2 inches from the center back. So 2 down and 2 over is the placement. So it'll be, whoops, like here. And I would suggest, it has sticky on it, so stick it on first, but then I would also suggest stitching it as well so that it doesn't come off while someone's using it.
Sure.
So you can stitch around, you can stitch a full square around the Velcro, like all the way around, or sometimes an X does the job. There are a couple ways to do it.
So this is just to reinforce the Velcro so that it stays onto the gown and doesn't come off, because sometimes with adhesive it wears down, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And just a reminder, what I always have to remind myself when I'm doing Velcro, to make sure you're placing it on the pieces on the correct side of the fabric. So for instance, I'll show you. So Sam, this is the back of the gown. I have one piece of Velcro here that'll have to go on this inside piece, but on the other side, it'll have to be on the outside of the garment, just to ensure that you don't have to take it off or redo it. And once your Velcro is on, oh, I lost one. There it is. So once your Velcro's on, you're almost done. All you have left is the tie. And I measured the sample that I have here, and the tie itself should be placed 18 inches down from the shoulder. And you also will want to find the center of the tie. So again, you can fold it in half and make a little mark at the center so that you make sure you're placing the center of the tie at the center of the front of the gown. and the tie should be adhered to the front of the body, like this. Hold on. And it's sewn, I'm looking at this. It's not sewn all the way to the side seam. I'll measure. It's sewn, it stops about 3 inches away from the side seam, the tie. So basically, you'll take, hold on, maybe the finished length should be, that's sewn, should be 17 inches. So 17 inches of this at the center on the top and bottom. And that's it.
And
So the rest will just hang down.
Unlike a bathrobe where traditionally it's from the back, these gowns are from
the front. Yep.
Okay.
So then someone will tie to the back to make it fit them properly. And that's it.
Amazing. You make it look so easy.
Good. It's not too complicated if you just take your time. It might take one, gown just to figure it out. And then once you get into the groove, you should be good.
Yeah, practice makes perfect always. We sent sample kits to our makers yesterday so that they can practice a few and get comfortable. And if there's any questions about construction, we can catch them before we start production.
Great. Yeah. Let me know if you have any other questions. I think my biggest suggestion would be for the elastic on the arm is to do that before you close it. It'll be the easiest before you sew the underarm.
Okay, great. So I want to throw it to our makers. Do you have any construction questions for Timmy or any questions about the gown making that might be helpful for the group? If so, please let me know.
Hi, I do. Where it's X'd out, don't do it just do what you said instead, right?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to double check.
I kind of followed what it said on there, but with a couple updates. Mostly that 2, it says 1 inch sewing, but we're doing 1/2 inch. It also says ironing, but again, we're not ironing. And then I added the information about the elastic for the arm opening, for the sleeve opening.
And what's great, Timmy, is that now we have this resource of you making a gown. We also have a video that Fashion Girls for Humanity produced about the gown making step by step.
Right.
So while we included that paper instruction, it was mainly just for the inventory of the pieces so that our makers can get familiar with all of the different pieces.
Perfect.
Okay, any other questions about construction?
How for the waist attachment, the belt? Do you sew in the middle only or on both sides?
You sew on both sides, top and bottom, to make sure it's secure. So for instance, here, I'll draw on this one. Okay, so say this is the center front that we marked, then you would sew, I don't know, can you see that? You would sew along the purple on the top and the bottom.
Yeah, about 1/4 inch?
Yeah, that's good. 1/4 inch, this one's 1/4 inch, the sample that I have. Yep.
Thank you, Timmy. Christina, did you have a question for Timmy, I think?
Yes. I can. Okay. I have a question. I made this simple, so I saw in the video, in the simple they send to use. On the arms, having, having insurance over here. So what you doing to make sure everything be even, on the arms?
Oh, you mean at this point here?
Yeah, at this point,
Yeah.
both, the simple I saw in the video, they making a
I
mistake
think-
over here too.
Yeah, I think if you make sure you find the center of the shoulder of the armhole, it should, and if that meets up, so how I was showing you to mark that center, I don't know if I have it here. Oh, there it is. So make sure you mark the center perfectly, because if you do, it should meet up with the shoulder seam perfectly, to where once you fold over the garment to sew the underarm and the side of the body, it should lay perfectly flat, and you shouldn't have to worry about that. If you have to adjust a little bit for some reason because it doesn't align properly, I would adjust in the armhole if you need, and then you can just trim it so that it looks, looks nice on the inside.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mhm.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, any other construction questions for Timmy while we have her?
Yes. What about the front and the back? Because sometimes it's no even, it's long. Like front is long, the back, so you can cut or leave like that.
You can trim. You can trim it. How much longer was it?
Like 2 inch, 3 inch. It's not too much, but
I think
it's
that's
little.
okay. I
Leave
think
it
it's
like
okay
that.
to trim. Yeah,
Keep?
trim it. I would trim it.
Trim. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So in an ideal world, the front and the back are level.
They should be. Let me look at, hold on. Let me look at the pieces I have. Well, oh, I guess I made this one yesterday. So let me look at this. I'm gonna mute myself because the wrestling is out. Okay, so I just looked, the armhole, since I centered the shoulder, the arm seems to match perfectly. The back body maybe, I think it's an inch longer. But I would just trim. Yeah, I would just trim it.
I also had a question, Timmy. Is it okay if they attach the elastic with a zigzag stitch?
Oh yeah, that's definitely okay. Mm-hmm.
I have another question. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
When I made the simple, I saw over here in the shoulder. When I made the back stitch over here to make sure I close it very well.
Mm-hmm.
So when I made a back stitch, I need to be careful because it's no.
Yeah.
But the first simple, I make a mistake over here, like make little holes. No, so what's the trip you have to you made back stitch or no need back stitch? What you doing?
I think, yeah, you definitely need the back stitch. When I did it, I just kind of went a little slower when I did the back stitch, just to make sure I didn't create any extra holes and to make sure it didn't skip. I just did it a little bit slower, because you only need to do it when you're starting, and ending your stitch anyways. So it should, let me try one more time. Yeah, I just went a little bit slower and it seems to be okay. No extra holes. Also, sometimes you can put paper behind like on the sewing machine table as you're sewing underneath, and it'll kind of guide the fabric a little bit better. But then when you're, when you remove that paper, just be a little careful. So basically just taking a piece of fabric or a piece of paper like this, putting it underneath, and then sewing on top of the fabric and the paper, and then you'll just take the paper off. But if
Yeah.
you go a little slower when you're doing the back stitch, it should be okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mhm.
Any other questions for Timmy? I love your studio setup, Timmy, by the way.
Thanks. I share a space with my friend, business partner. She makes wedding dresses, and I make lingerie.
Perfect pairing.
Excuse me. What's the ideal stitches per inch?
Ooh, I'm not sure. Let me see where it's this. Measure this.
Would
Is this set on like the basic setting? 2.
Yeah, I'm just on a standard setting. Yeah.
Yeah. So 2.5.
Like it's like 15 on this garment, but that's a serged garment. I just used my standard setting.
okay. Thanks.
Mhm.
So Timmy, I watched the video last night and I've seen your demo. So I wrote down some tips and suggestions for the ladies
Mhm.
to make their when they're doing production, more than one garment, to make it go faster and for each
Mhm.
to be more consistent. You want me to
Great.
share that with them now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I saw that you did one of the things. So definitely think they should have that neck template so that they can just mark it each time. So you're saying they only need the front one.
Yes. And
Did everybody get a template or do they have to create one?
the template in the kit, right, Anthony?
Yes, everyone will get a template.
Yep, it's in the kit.
Yes. Yes.
Is it
Yes.
so is the template in paper or is it on like oak tag, something hard?
Yeah, the one I have is on cardstock.
Yes, the same. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would definitely, put it on like the hard paper or cardstock. You can mark it with a pencil, but at the same time you took it to mark it with a pencil, if you have a rotary cutter, I'll just cut it. All
Yep.
right, save a step there. Also, if you don't have a serger, I could share with you a foot attachment that acts like a serger. You just use it with your zigzag stitch and it cuts it off, and they sell for between $10 and $15. And if you order it on Amazon, you can get it in 2 days. All right, so there's that. I can share that with you. Also, I would use a zigzag stitch for their elastic because it goes on more consistently and easily. And I would not pin. If you're gonna pin, you have to pin in the seam allowance. So if you can't do that, then you could tack it
Definitely
on
not.
with a stitch. But I would also always tack one end on, the other end on, and then when you stretch it, your elastic is gonna be distributed evenly throughout the sleeve. And that's just, it'll be the same on every sleeve every time if you do that. So you can't use pins, but you could do a tack stitch on the one end, pull the sleeve and sew it. Sew it with a zigzag and it'll hold it down flat. There won't be any curling or anything. Also for the belt, my suggestion is to put the belt on the front before they sew anything, even before they attach the shoulders, because then you have the front piece flat to work with. You just need to mark it You could also create a template so that your belt is in the same place every time. You know, she said 18 inches down from the shoulder, 3 inches in from the side seams. You mark your 2 dots on the front and you stitch on the belt first, fold in the ends of the belt, you know, clip it so it doesn't get in your way when you're sewing, when you're closing the seams afterwards. But having that
Yeah.
piece lay flat and be able to work with and put the belt. Otherwise, I think the belt's always going to come a little crooked this way, that way.
Mhm.
It's going to be really difficult to work with.
And you're working with less fabric,
Right.
when you're doing that first, because you won't have your sleeves on and all of that.
Yeah, it's just the front flat piece. It should be really easy to work with. Also, when I have fabric that it's hard to tell the right side from the wrong side, especially when you're doing a lot of pieces and working, I like to use those little stickers, the little dot stickers. And I just go through my whole stack. We just dot all the right sides. So when you're working, you don't have to stop and be like, is this the right side? Is that the wrong side? If you start, you know, mixing up your pieces. So if you just go through and take that 5-10 minutes, dot all the right sides, you know, and then of course at the end you just remove them. They're real quick to remove. They don't leave a mark. I think that'll help any mistakes that after you finish, you're like, oh my God, one panel is the wrong side of the fabric, right? That's a disaster.
Mhm.
Okay, 1/2 inch seam allowance. Mark that on your machine with a piece of masking tape, even though the machine has the marking, but it's just so easy. You don't have to think about it. You have that guide right there all the time because you're moving fast. You want to do production. You want consistency. No pins, use clips. Before you start sewing, I would take your stack of sleeves and go through and mark that little notch at the center sleeve. So you don't have to stop for every sleeve 2 times on each garment as you're sewing. You want to just fold all of them quickly, make that center shoulder mark seam in there. So that as you're sewing and going through your pile now, it's already done, it's marked, and you can go quickly. So I already told you about notching the waistline for the belt. And I would pre-cut all your elastic to the 10.5 inches, right? Because ideally you're gonna do, when you're doing production, you're gonna do all your sleeves. So you're gonna do all the elastics one time, right? You're gonna do all the front belts at one time. And so you're just gonna keep going like that. And that'll make everything go faster and you'll get more done in a shorter time. All right. And I can write this down and post it for you guys so that you have it. And you have that little guide of the steps that you can take to make your production go quicker and be more consistent. Quality control, everything goes quickly. All right.
Thank you so much, Angelique. I think it
No
really,
Yeah, it's great.
the extra tips and any way we can be more efficient and make more gowns in the same manner is going to be super helpful.
Okay. And don't feel afraid to reach out and ask questions if you have, as you're working, you have questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions from our makers?
Yeah, I have a question. I was gonna say to send me a video to rewatch, or just what Angelique said, to, resend like information to us. Yeah, that
Yes,
was
absolutely. We'll be sure to send
Definitely.
sewing instructions, the video tutorial from Fashion Girls for Humanity, this recording of the tutorial from Timmy. We want to make sure that the makers have all the resources to do this right.
yeah.
I had another question, Timmy, right? So I'm back to, my mind is always going to
Yeah.
So do you care if the elastic is enclosed, like folded over and stitched? Or does it have to have like that little ruffle edge?
If you can enclose it, that's it. I don't. Oh, I guess maybe Anthony, you might want to make sure, but I don't think it matters. I think you could do it either way.
Okay, because there's a quick way to do that in production where it's enclosed.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
love the ladies to have that habit down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's good.
okay.
Yeah, I think Anthony, if you just want to reconfirm, but as I believe when I spoke to her last night, she said as long as it's closed, and there is elastic, then it should be fine.
Perfect.
Great.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna actually hand it over to Ngozi, who is joining us today, to say a couple of words.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for being here, Fashion Girls for Humanity. Timmy, I didn't hear your whole presentation, but it seemed really good. And I'm just looking at like your studio, trying to figure out like what type of lingerie you'll be producing, um, how your Valentine's Day sales were, all that. But I'm just so grateful that we've got this partnership. Um, it's challenging. The partnership has come into place, Fashion Girls for Humanity, because of coronavirus, but I'm so amazed at the way that Kika and Nikki really turned around something that is a tragedy into an opportunity for community to come together and for us to support the country really with something that's needed. And so I would just love it if one or both of you could share a couple of words about how you started this and what you see this moving into.
Miki, do you want to start and talking about how we started, and I can talk about the initiative.
Oh, sure. So, we're a very small organization. We started actually when 10 years ago when the tsunami and earthquake happened in Japan. And we really started organically. And, at that time, we just basically sort of got our fashion community together to raise money so that we can contribute to disaster relief. And for the last 10 years on and off, we've been coming together whenever there's a disaster. But when this coronavirus hit us exactly a year ago, we were on the phone every day together saying we have to do something. And the PPE situation, it became very clear to us that that was in need. And obviously you heard Cuomo talk about it every day, but we didn't realize that there was a big supply chain problem. And so this is the reason why we came together and to raise money, and then to, we're actually, Kika can go into the initiative a little bit better, but we decided that we could, there were so many people in the fashion industry, especially garment workers, who wanted to put their skills to good use. So we decided to pay them through our donations and then donate to the hospitals in need. And then along the lines, we also met the guys who made the kits that you're all using. And it's great to hear all the pointers that Timmy mentioned, because I think that they need to make an update on the instructions. But yeah, so that's how we all started.
Hi, I'm Kika. I'm actually based in LA, but I was in New York until 7 years ago. As Miki said, Fashion Girls for Humanity was founded right after the earthquake about 10 years ago with Miki, Tomoko, Julie Gilhart, who Ngozi you might know. And I got to know Custom Collaborative also about a year ago through Swarovski Foundation and UN partnership, One by One initiative. And then coronavirus hit. I'm so happy that this kind of random connection turned into some amazing partnership, as this is exactly what I imagined that it would really community helping community, coming together, all of us, even though we're remotely working. I think this is a really amazing sort of common thread where we can do this together, right? Technology enable us to reach 250,000 people from 177 countries, just by teaching people how to make PPE and YouTube downloadable instructions, and kits, and then we find other people who make kits, and I think I really appreciate here, not just our team here, Kendall, who I can't see your face, but Kendall, who always working behind the scene as a volunteer, and Timmy, who became sort of like our face designer for our YouTube video. I originally started, but then I have to ask Timmy, it's like, what, Timmy, can you help me and make all these videos? We worked together over Zoom, and we immediately found a way to kind of work together. And here now we have so many people who would be making PPE gowns that are desperately still needed. We have a long list. As you can imagine, the case number is down, but still we're talking about so many people who are positive, and we need to, keep supplying those gowns to facilities who never budgeted their finance to buy all these gowns. If we can help them, if we can, our organization is going to help in terms of donating gowns to those people who are in need, hospitals, nursing homes, all facilities, testing centers around the country. So thank you so much. And I really appreciate your time. And again, Anthony and Gausi, thank you so much for this opportunity, partnership. And we hopefully we can work together, and regardless of the initiative.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you both so much. It's great to see you both here, and I'm so glad that,
Likewise.
yeah, your strong team and our teams are working together, and we will continue to work together in the future, and hopefully also in non-disaster related capacity.
That would be nice.
Yes. So thank you. So back to you, Anthony.
Okay, thank you so much to everyone for joining this tutorial. Thanks to Timmy, thanks to Fashion Girls for Humanity, thanks to all of our makers. We are going to be in close communication with you to start the production of these gowns. And any questions, comments, concerns, please drop me a line. And I hope everyone weathers the storm and stays warm. And we're really grateful to have this time together to work together on this great project. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.